Hey, church, and welcome back to another Focus Friday. I don't know about you, but I have really enjoyed the journey through the book of Ephesians that we've been on. It's been a wonderful reminder of how God sees us. We are His. We are His temple, His family, His body, His bride, and His army. What a high calling it is to be loved by Him and to be chosen by the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords to partner with Him on earth to make Him known. We are His body. We are His church. See, the other day, I was thinking about the many things that we have not been able to do as a church in the last year. And there's been certain things that we just simply can't do. We haven't been able to execute the things that we were used to. However, it's been a good reminder for me of the things that we can do. And so I was reminded that church has never been about the four walls, because church is where you are. I'm glad that we've found creative ways throughout this last year to still be able to gather in different ways, because that's important. And the Bible does encourage us to keep gathering. However, the church has always been about the people and how we carry out His mission on earth. See, some of the things that we can do are beautifully explained throughout the book of Ephesians. In chapter 1, it talks about how we can grow in our identity in Him. And in chapter 2, it talks about how we can be carriers of His presence. And in chapter 3, it talks about how we can be His family and reveal that mystery of what that actually means to the world around us. In chapter 4, it talks about how we can be unified as His body, and we can grow in intimacy with Him as His bride, as chapter 5 explains. And ultimately, it can help us overcome our spiritual battles equipped by Him, as it talks about in Ephesians chapter 6. What a beautiful book about who we are and what our purpose is. But the book of Ephesians doesn't just lay out a pattern for church. It actually lays out a pattern for our lives. As Paul is ending this beautiful book, he wraps it up in this thought in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 18 to 20. And it says this: "And pray in the Spirit on all occasions, with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people. Pray also for me, that whenever I speak, words may be given me, so that I will fearlessly make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains. Pray that I may declare it fearlessly as I should." See, one of the things that we can do, church, is to pray. In this season, more than ever, I believe that God is calling His church to know who we are, to know Him, and to listen to His voice and to pray His will. Paul says in this passage to pray in the Spirit, to pray all kinds of prayers, to keep praying for all the Lord's people, and to pray for Him, to pray that He would not be trapped in fear. And even though He was in chains, He was, in a sense, in a permanent lockdown, but He saw actually that as an opportunity to share the gospel even more. This sounds like a good strategy to me. This idea of praying is so important. Church, remember that in this time, we need to keep praying. Pray for your family. Pray for one another. Pray for those in authority. Pray for the gospel to shine a light to those who are lost in darkness, confusion, depression, or frustration. Pray for boldness for yourself to share the mystery of the gospel. In this time, we're in a battle, but we cannot face it or overcome it by using natural strategies or human responses. When David was about to defeat Goliath, he couldn't do so by putting on Saul's armor. That was what would have been expected. Instead, he was given a different battle strategy that he had developed on the backside of the desert as he spent time with God. His victory that day wasn't just personal, it actually meant victory for an entire nation, because he had a divine strategy. See, church, I believe that we've been given the divine strategy of praying. This one thing is something we can always do no matter what the world around us looks like. Things happen when we pray. It's not just a religious exercise. It's a battle strategy to overcome the pressures we're facing and to change the outcome of seemingly impossible situations. 1 Thessalonians 5:17 says, "Pray without ceasing." And I think God says that to us because He knows that this is how we're going to get to know Him, to know His heart, to know His plans, and to then be able to believe that and to speak that out in prayer over people and over situations that are impossible without his intervention. Throughout the Bible, there's tons of just miraculous stories of things that took place when God's people prayed. Finally, James 5:16 says, "The earnest prayer of a righteous person has great power and produces wonderful results." Church, I want to encourage you as we continue throughout these ever-changing seasons of cultural change, pray and cling to the one who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Communicate with him, hear his heart for you, for the people around you. See, prayer unites us. It builds us up. It gives us boldness, and it changes situations. It does amazing things. And sometimes prayer doesn't necessarily change a circumstance. Sometimes prayer simply changes us. Maybe like me, you've felt limited at times in what you can do for or with others in this season. But prayer is without limits. Prayer has great power. It produces wonderful results. Remember, church, what we can do. We can be a praying church. Bless you. Thank you for tuning in.